G'day, I'm Nick Clements from York US and welcome to our podcast Beyond the Guesstimate, where we explore the concept of cost-informing design. I've been involved in the construction sector since 1993 and pretty much that whole time I've been frustrated about how inefficient and how bad we are. When I talk about cost-informing design, I take a pretty broad view of that. I'm really interested in the industry right from the design end right through to things getting built and being finished off. You would have heard the saying that a small amount of knowledge is a dangerous thing. Well, some professors in the US did some research into it and proved that it was actually true. So professors Dunning-Kruger did this research, and what they identified was people that know a small amount of information tend to be overconfident in what they know, and then as they learn more over time, they realise just how little they knew. And then as they develop the actual competence in it, then their confidence goes up. So this is something they call the Dunning-Kruger effect after those two professors. It's real. I think everybody suffers from it. I can certainly stick my hand up that when I was younger, I knew just about everything. As I've got older, I've realised just how little I actually know, and I'm continuing to learn. And a lot of what you see in these podcasts is me learning in real time. So the other thing is, it's not just learning that new knowledge, but also over time, as you get more knowledge, you start becoming complacent. So during World War II, the RAF found that there was 2 periods of time when pilots tend to kill themselves. So one was at 4 hours where they thought they knew what they knew. And then one was at 400 hours where they actually had quite a lot of competence and they got overconfident in it. Now, the building industry is prone to this as well. So Pete, if you want to flick it to the next slide. So this is some research from an organisation called Concove. So they're based out at the Manukau Institute of Technology, and they do research into the building industry about trying to identify education gaps and identify areas that they can provide training into. And through this research, they talk to plumbers, carpenters and electricians, and talk to the employees and the employers and got an understanding of their different skills across a number of different areas. And what it showed was that their technical skills in the particular trade they're doing are pretty good, but a lot of the other skills that they need to be successful in business are actually lacking. And so this slide here shows that in our area, we're involved in quoting and estimating. There's quite a strong lack, and that chart shows experienced tradespeople and their employer's view of their ability to estimate costs. So if we flick to the other slide, it in some ways gets worse when you talk about the business side of things. So a lot of us in technical trades, as I said, tend to focus our training and development on those technical skills, but many of us are destined to end up in businesses that we run and own, and our trade backgrounds and our training backgrounds don't tend to give those skills and knowledge that are needed. So if you look at graduates coming out of the institution, so typically this is Polytechs with what Concove were looking at, you can see there's quite a big gap in the accounting and marketing, and even with the experienced people, there's quite a big gap in the accounting and marketing, yet a lot of them are destined to go on and run their own businesses. So thanks, Pete. So if the Dunning-Kruger effect then kicks in and they've got this little amount of knowledge and they actually overestimate their knowledge, I think that's a big part of why we see failures in the construction sector as quite a big thing. And the way you can deal with it is, in my view, there's sort of 3 options. One is you can develop the skills yourself. So spend the time, find out training courses, look for opportunities to learn, look for mentors to try and build the skills yourself. You can hire the skills in, so you can find somebody that's got those skill gaps and bring them into your business, or you can outsource to organisations like us. So if you're talking about costing, then there's quite a few people like us, and we're obviously the best, so talk to us, that can provide that, but also accounting, marketing, whether you're doing social media marketing, whatever, there's people around that know it. So those are your sort of 3 main options. Today, my guest is somebody that specialises in helping businesses through that process, so figuring out where their gaps are and how to go about filling those gaps. So welcome today to Marti Amos from The Professional Builder. So thanks for coming along, Marti.
Thanks, Nick. Great to be on here. Very impressed with your setup. Best podcasting setup that I've been on.
Thanks. It's actually it's not mine. It's Pete and Monique's who are behind the scenes.
Great work, Pete.
Yeah, and it's good setup. And they did a bit of arm twisting me to get into this podcasting thing, but I've been really enjoying it. And
awesome.
The studio I've got here and Pete's skill behind the camera, I think, helps make this whole thing a pretty 100%. Good thing. So just start off just by telling us a bit about what Professional Builder do.
So we're a business coaching company solely for building company owners and general contractors. We help residential building company owners between $1 to $25 million buy back their time, grow their business, make more money in terms of profit and cash flow, and get a well-performing team. So they build a business that works for them rather than them working for the business.
So how long have you had the professional builder going for?
22 years now.
22 years, okay.
Yep.
So what was your journey getting into it? So presumably you didn't leave high school and think I'm going to be a building coach?
No, well, I actually grew up on Stewart Island. So
right.
New Zealand's got 3 main islands, well, 4 if you count the Chathams.
No, they don't really count.
Yeah, exactly. So grew up on Stewart Island, 6 fingers, web feet, swam across the ditch, went to Otago University. I did an honours, a master's, started doing a PhD in marketing, lectured at Otago University. A mate and I started a business down there, Dunedin Dining Club. So if you and I went out for dinner at any one of these 21 restaurants, your main meal would be free. He's then carried on to grow New Zealand's largest security company called Allied Security. They have about 2,500 team members between Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and he's just bought a large company in Australia as well. So did that, had my first business with him. Then I've had multiple businesses along the way. Then I left university, got tired of being a broke, cold academic, shifted to Auckland and worked as the marketing director for Honda Motorcycles for New Zealand. Then worked as the country manager for Pirelli. So I worked in overseas in Australia, the US, Italy, etc., etc. And then we grew Pirelli into the #1 tyre brand per capita in New Zealand. In the world, New Zealand had the highest performing
as a
ratio.
Pirelli
Exactly.
product. Yeah, right.
Exactly. So we established 2 distributors, benchmarked them against each other, set up the retail network, 46 retailers, established the Pirelli approved dealer program, finance program, etc., etc. So that went well. Then got tired of being working for the man and being a corporate warrior, and I was looking at buying a hair salon out of Ring, reading these books, and the guy
Tires to hair salon.
I know, right? And the guy who was selling the hair salon said, "Oh, I've got a business coaching company. Why don't you come work with me?" I'm like, "Shit, yeah, I love teaching, I love learning, and if I can sharpen my skills in business by applying what I've learned in theory, it's going to help me get better." So I bought an Action Coach business coaching franchise. That was 2004. We coached every type of business under the sun, and there were about 1,300 coaches there, and they rank you based on how your revenue each month. I think it's just a way for them.
So how many say 1,300?
Yeah, so 1,300. So I got to #1 in New Zealand, #2 in the world, and that's based on results and revenue. And then we had a lot of building company owners amongst everyone else, from mortgage brokers to Juice TV to franchises, etc., that we were coaching. We had a lot of building companies, and they were great at being on the tools, doing great projects. They just needed help to be able to build a great business, and that's where we came in with teaching them the skill set of sales and marketing, team and systems, and numbers and pricing. And so we started coaching building company owners 22 years ago, and then we decided after 8 years that we would go solely into
So who was the we at this point?
Oh, so I'm using a collective me and a PA and a intern, who's actually become my business partner, Owen. He is a weapon. So we started, we coached probably a couple of hundred building companies by that stage, and we had a lot of case studies, playbooks, step-by-step on everything on how to price projects, back cost in real time, how to get testimonials, how to drive traffic to your website, 10-step sales process. So we're like, okay, why don't we just focus solely on builders? So we started coaching, we changed the company name to first it was Builders Profitable Marketing. Then it's like, well, we don't just do marketing. We also do numbers and pricing. We do sales, we do systems, we do team, we do leadership. So we changed the company name to The Professional Builder probably 13 years ago. And we were just in New Zealand, and there were 3 of us. And then over the last 11, 12 years, we've grown from 3 of us to a team of 100 now.
100? Yeah.
Yep. We're based throughout New Zealand, Australia, Canada, the UK, and the US. We run events, seminars all around the world. We have 5 summits a year. So a couple of years ago, we had 30 people in Auckland. Then we had 100 people the next year in Auckland. Then we had 200 people in Gold Coast just recently. And then we were in the US last month, and we had close to 100 members there in the US.
So the 100 people, are they employees or franchise or contractors? Or
they're a mixture of employees in New Zealand with New Zealand's terrible shit labour laws that I had a chat with David Seymour and Chris Hawes about the just how bad New Zealand's labour laws are. And then we have contractors around the rest of the world.
So I can't let that go by. So what's the issue you see with the labour laws?
So the issue with the labour laws is that after 90 days, you can't do what you can in the US and have a conversation and say, hey, Nick, you're a great dude, I like working with you, but this isn't working. You're not hitting your KPIs, you're not hitting your goals on the scorecard. We need to coach you up or coach you out if you're not a good fit. And so with New Zealand, you can't do that. You have to either go down a performance improvement plan, which is, stressful for both parties involved.
And quite time consuming. Yeah.
Exactly. And then you go down the business restructure path. And if you get one of those wrong, like if you start saying to someone, hey, Nick, you're not performing, and then you decide to restructure the department or the business, it can be termed a sham redundancy. Like we've had one just recently where we had a manager, we went from 32 people last year to 100. Not all of those 68 people that we hired were A players. We've had to coach 6 of them up or out. One of them wasn't happy, said that, we hadn't followed the process, hurt, humiliation, et cetera, et cetera. So we went to mediation, and then she ended up wanting 65 grand to begin with, and then we ended up settling for 22K, which we paid last Friday. So it's fucked.
Yeah.
Like, what do we do? What do you do? But an employee can say, well, hey, I'm leaving in 4 weeks' time. Hey, it's been great. But we can't say, hey, it's been great.
Yeah.
And yet you can't let someone drag the whole ship down. The whole team and the business is greater than any one individual.
Yeah, whereas I've never actually worked in the US, but you sort of see it on TV, and they seem to be able to fire at a drop of a hat. So I think it's
fantastic.
Yeah, it might be as an employer, but as an employee, I don't know if it's so good.
And people don't want to let go of people who are superstars, who show up, who come with PSR, problem, solutions, recommendation, who are proactive, who drive the business forward. Those people, there'll always be a place for those people at the head of the table.
Yeah. So a lot of it would come from what you're saying is you've got to get the recruiting right, so you get those right people in. And New Zealand puts more of an emphasis on that because if you get it wrong, the consequences are much harder to resolve.
100%. So there's a fantastic book that all the Fortune 500 companies use and a lot of the Inc. 5000 called Who by Jeff Smart. It goes through the 5 phases of hiring, recruiting, how do you get enough of the right kind of leads, hiring, onboarding, day-to-day ramp up. So the first 90 days, how do you get someone to hit their scorecard, hit their KPIs, get ramped up to speed, get within the company's values. And then lastly, ongoing management. Does everyone have a clear plan? Do they have a weekly meeting with their manager for 20 minutes? Are they on track with their KPIs, et cetera, et cetera? Fantastic book. So we've started applying that, and that's helped us become a finalist for the top 3 places to work in the best place to work competition in New Zealand for 50 to 150 employees.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we were in there for the smaller ones.
Oh, happy days.
Last year or the year before. Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, well done, my man.
Yeah, cheers.
Awesome.
Yeah, we got, we didn't get an award, but we got to the award
same
ceremony.
As us. Same as, exactly.
But it was good to go through, and it was actually good to be in the room with all these other organisations and seeing what they're doing and just seeing how much good stuff's going on.
100%.
And so many of them I'd never heard of. It was
100%. And to get those good ideas of what do other people do to drive their culture, have engaged team members, have an awesome environment.
And it was good to, had a bit of a checklist of, okay, we did pretty well overall, but there's always areas you can do better. So we've got things we've identified from going through that process that, 100%. Hey, there's some areas we can work on. How can we, the couple of those aspects, what can we put in place to try and for me, I'm very much a systems guy. So it's hard, you can't respond to the individual instance. You've got to make sure the system ensures those instances don't happen.
Absolutely.
So if you get the process right around it, then it comes out. And so we take a similar sort of approach with how we manage our people and get our people on board. And
awesome.
We've had a pretty good run. We've got a pretty good team. And
well done.
We had one employee issue, which we've not quite as extreme as your one, but
happens with growth, right? Like it's just become part of the course.
So that 100 is that worldwide, or is that?
Yep.
Yeah. And so, what portion would be employees versus contractors?
So I think we have about 23 3 to 25 in New Zealand, and probably 20 of them are employees.
Yeah, right. And so you've grown, you're saying, from 32 to 100. Did the business plan 5 years ago show what you were doing?
No,
so as a business coach, it should have. You should have got it all right.
Yeah, absolutely. So we stalled at about $3 million a year for about 4 years. Then last year we did 10 mil. This year we've done 21 mil, and we're on track to do 30 or so over the next 12 months. So that's come from finding what your number one constraint is, and then breaking that domino and forcing growth. So our ad spend's gone from 40 grand a month up to about 250 to 300 grand a month we spend on meta ads, and then we do a whole bunch of other marketing around that as well. So that forces the constraint of having enough leads show up.
To go somewhere else.
Exactly. Your sales team busy? Are they converting? Does it make sense from a ROAS, return on ad spend, scale, etc.?
That explains why you keep coming up on my feed then. Yeah.
Exactly. You're in our tractor beam, right? There's no hiding now.
So how you do the sort of delivery model you've got now, how has that changed over time? So you've been at this, I guess, the professional builder model for, you said, 10 or 11 years, 12 years.
Yep.
Is what you're doing now the same as what you were doing 12 years ago?
It's a similar format put on steroids. So we coach building company owners on 3 key areas: sales and marketing, so they can build a pipeline, get booked out 6-12 months with profitable work over 20% GP. 2 is numbers and pricing, so they can price to a target margin that includes their P&G, project management fees, and overhead recovery fees, because quite often they overlook those. They don't include those in their costings, etc. Then they wonder where the money is at the end of the project or the end of the month. And then lastly, team and systems. So systems on site and systems in the office, and then the team we hire and train to run those systems. Every person needs a scorecard, needs to be clear on the company's values, the rules of the game. They have a meeting every week, a 20-minute meeting to know, hey, Nick, are you on track or off track? And it might be the foreman or the project manager needs to be within 5% of his forecast labour hours by stage. So then we're like, hey, we're doing the framing. We've allocated 100 hours. We're halfway through, but we're at 70 hours. Okay, I'm red. Here's what I'm doing to get that back to green, and what we're going to do over the next couple of weeks to buy back those 20 hours. So they own the outcome. That's what we want as founders, is for people to own the outcomes for their roles. And a big thing, rather than you having to have a stick and beat people, is one, put the structure in place, so a scorecard, the systems for them to follow, shorten the feedback loop, like weekly reporting, and then we can course correct. If labour hours are off, labour hours are typically 80% of the success of a job. We can course correct with the guys in the toolbox meeting, and the foreman can come back, who's 80% of the success of the job, and go, hey, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to chuck some more guys at it. We're going to put some of the more skilled carpenters on there, etc.
So it sounds like you've got quite a refined format that you take into the builders. So I guess what I'm interested in is sort of, how did you get to that format where you are now? So is it what you had 12 years ago, or have you had learnings along the way that have caused you to refine how that works? So
it's evolved over time. You're either growing or you're dying. So we invest heavily into mentoring, masterminds, community ourselves. So we spent about 250 grand in the last 12 months on coaching programs, masterminds, mentoring, etc.
So that's internally?
Yes, for our team. Yep, exactly. And so
on that, I guess, one of the things for me is my business has grown. So we've been going since 2018. It's a little bit similar to you. It started with me and a part-time student, and it sort of grew. We've got 10 or 11 in the team now. And one of the concerns I had was, as it grew, I couldn't be on every job. So when it first started, I touched every job, and I was still touching every job up until a few years ago. And it was quite hard to sort of let go of my baby. And it was really quite fulfilling to see the customer experience was just as good, and in fact probably better, because I get pulled in so many different directions.
Exactly.
You actually don't want me on your jobs now.
5 key areas that you're attending 20% of your time to. You have one person who does that role to 80% of your ability. They can't do it as well as you, but it's their sole role. so they can put all their time and energy into it.
So I might be able to do it better, but I can't do it as well as everything else. So how have you done?
Exactly.
So with a coaching business, I would have thought a lot more, probably more so it's built around you and how you think and how you work and how you communicate with the builders. So how have you managed to get that sort of through your organisation?
Okay, so we have 3 key areas that we coach people on and in. So number one is we have plug and play content. So we interview our members every week. So we've got 675 on the program currently. We interview people who are crushing it. So our coaches will interview members in Canada, the US, who's doing well with variations, who's doing well with getting leads in, who's doing well with landing $10 million plus projects, who's doing well with contracts.
And when you say interview, what do you mean by that?
So like this,
right? We
do a podcast, a member interview, our coaches interview our members. We ask them, what was the problem you were trying to solve? What are the specific steps that you took? What resources do you have that you're willing to share with our community? So then we white label their solutions. So whether it's a tool, a template, a checklist or whatever, and then that rising tide lifts everyone's boats because we're taking what the top 5% of people are doing are succeeding and we're going here. Here's an information pack that you can send out in advance. Here's the questionnaire, exact questionnaire that you use to ask people so you don't show up, waste time with time wasters, people whose scope doesn't match their scope is up here, their budget is here, and this is the process for that. So that helps massively.
And you basically develop that process by finding people within your organisation or within your membership that have done a good job of it.
Exactly.
Figuring out what they were doing and then systemising it for everybody else.
Exactly. So we have 137 playbooks across sales and marketing, team and systems, numbers and pricing. They're then available for everyone to use. So they have a training on them. They have a downloadable system or PDF or document that you can put, and AI. So we have a lot of AI usable strategies as well that people can put into their business straight away. So they're not having to reinvent the wheel, take 12 or 18 months to figure out how to do something. You already have it done to a world class. So plug and play content, one-on-one coaching. So we have 3 levels of coaches. So we have performance coaches that go through your numbers with you every month, work out where you're at in terms of KPIs and your financials. What's the one strategy that you need help with to implement?
So you're able to, through those KPIs, identify what is lagging.
What's the biggest
that's where
constraint?
the focus needs to be for now is to deal with that.
Exactly. So if you've got 20 leads coming in a month, but you're only signing 1 deal, then there's no point in getting more leads. We need to look at your sales process. If you're signing deals at 15% gross margin, that's in the red zone. So we need to figure out, okay, cool, why is that? Do you not have enough leads coming through? Do you not have a good sales process? Are you poorly positioned? Are you lacking decent marketing, value, case studies, testimonials, et cetera, in which case we need to pump that up, have greater volume so you can pick and choose the right kind of projects that are good for you and your team.
So it's all about viewing the business as a system, understanding that system, 100%. Having little windows into the different steps of the system so that you can see what's happening within that part of it. And knowing if you change that bit, it's going to affect this bit over here because of these relationships. And
so we have profit calculators, we have forecasting tools, we have back costing in real time tools, spreadsheets, et cetera. So where we're different to all the other building coaching companies is we have 3 levels of coaches. So we have our performance coaches that do a one-on-one session with you every month. We have weekly sessions that we do with you as well. So you're available to, you can attend any one of multiple coaching sessions that are going on.
And those one-to-many sessions?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Then we have what's called accountability coaches. So they'll call you up and they'll say, Nick, you were going to do your job description, you were going to put this job ad, hey, have you got 10 minutes now? Let's jump online, I'll help you get it into play. Or, hey, how are you going with getting your variations process sorted? And they'll actually help jump in and help you get it done. And then lastly, we have specialist coaches. So we have 7 of those. And those are building company owners who own their own business, who've been through our program and who've graduated from like Richard, 3 to 12 million. He's got 3 different locations throughout New Zealand. Got a great business, won 56 Master Builders Awards. And so they do sessions every week with our members. They're available for one-on-ones, etc. So it's those. And also we take everyone's feed out of Xero or QuickBooks in North America or whatever software they're using. We put it into our profit calculator called Fathom. It spits out a report, both KPIs and KPAs. How are you going cash flow wise, profitability per project, overall P&L for the company? And then we can look at, great, where are the gaps? Exactly. They can see how they're performing relative to others. And then you can get best practice from other people in your community. You can talk to them, download their tools, and use that. Like it's like a cheat code.
So it's really impressive. So I can see, what you've done in terms of systemizing what builders need to be doing, but you've also at the same time stepped back and looked at what you do and how you can systemize that to make it repeatable and scalable. So
100%. So we have 41 coaches on the team of 100 now. AI is helping us speed up, helping people get results, because typically builders have either a knowledge or an execution gap. So if it's a knowledge gap, we help fix that with plug and play content. We also have we can work with you to get it done, so a done with you program. Or it's an execution gap. They know what to do, but they're just lacking time, or maybe there's some fear on how do I get started, what do I do? And that's where our success coaches actually help you get this over the line, get it into your business. So if you're not, we say people need 3 things to work with us. So we don't just take everyone. You need to be doing over 500K to begin with. We don't work with startups. We don't work with one-man bands. We work with people who have 2, 3, 4
scale
teams.
And some volume. And
exactly.
Some issues as a result of that to deal with. Yeah.
Exactly. When we first start working with people, they fill in a health audit. So it's a 50-point question. It goes through team, leadership, systems, on-site, office, sales and marketing, and numbers and pricing. We can then see where are the gaps. So marketing, you're a 3 out of 10. Pricing, you've got that dialed in because you're working with Nick, and you've got a 9 out of 10 on that. And then we can go, okay, great. Where are the gaps? What happens if we were to fix that? And then they go through, they send their profit and loss statement to us for the last 3 years. Our business growth advisors assess that, and we can see their gaps, like what happens if we increase your margin from 16 to 20%. You don't have a front-end problem, you have a back-end problem, and you're not controlling the project, forecast versus actual, you're missing variations, your materials are overrunning, etc.
Or your estimates were wrong to start with.
Your estimates are way out to begin with, your labour recipes are off. Okay, great. We're going to solve that and just focus on that over the next 90 days. If that takes your margin from 16 to 20% and you've got a $5 million business, then you've just found an extra 200K.
Yeah, the difference between being a sustainable business and a business that's just hanging in there.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, so we've looked to try and do something similar. So with estimating, as you probably know, traditional estimating is quite subjective, very recipe dependent, very dependent on the estimator doing it and adjusting the recipes to reflect the job. What we've tried to do is a bit like what you've done, is sort of systemize the whole estimating process, and we try and build our organisational knowledge into our system, so our QSs aren't having to make decisions about how long does it take to fit a window. The system knows about that, and what we're trying to do the same as you is basically get feedback back from the builders, and we got a lot of it when we were first getting the whole idea going, so it did take a lot of refining and a lot of developing to get it right, so that we can identify what are the characteristics of a building that cause it to take longer or whatever. So it's all about trying to systemise it so that it's as little as possible sort of human judgment involved in the process.
100%. Like, systemize the routine, humanize the exception. Systems run the business. We hire and train people to run the systems, and then we train them up and hold them accountable through their scorecard every week.
Whereas so much of the building industry is just people,
seat of the
historically.
Pants. 100%. And that's because
box full of receipts that they give to the accountant at the end of the year.
100%. And that's because builders are great at doing great work, great on the tools, and it's learning a different set of skills to become a great business owner. So marketing, sales, financials, cash flow, systems, leadership, team. And then it's changing that. The hardest thing is to change your identity. So when you're got a builder's identity, and typically that's from sort of getting started to about $2 million in revenue. Once you get over $2 million in revenue, you need to go from a builder identity to a business owner's identity. If you don't, then what will happen is when you get a problem on site, you'll run back on site to fix it. You're the guy who'll pick everything up. Instead of, if there's one thing people take away from this interview today, is the concept of PSR. So how you get the monkey off your back, and you being, as the founder, the person who wants to solve all the problems because you have invested the most, both financially, time, money, emotionally, etc. When someone comes to you with a problem, say PSR. Number one, define the problem clearly. The concrete truck's not showing up at 4 o'clock today. Number two, S, solutions. What are 3 potential solutions that you can do? Well, one, I can call the owner, see if he can come after hours. 2, see if he's got another truck available. 3, I can call another concrete company. Or 4, I can let the guys know, hey, you're going to go to another job this afternoon that's a couple of suburbs over because the concrete truck's not coming till tomorrow. Okay, cool. That's 3 possible solutions. What is your one recommendation? My recommendation is I call the owner. He's a mate of mine. Let's see if he's got one of his other trucks that he can pull from another job to sort this out so we keep this guys on this project. So you're testing, you're raising leaders, you're taking ownership to think like a founder, you're increasing conceptual ability, and you're raising the whole level of your team. So ultimately, they take ownership of problems, they own the outcome, and it's not you having everything on your shoulders.
And it's problem-solving skills that you're talking about, and basically bringing a problem-solving attitude to things. And if there's a life skill to learn, that's a good one to learn.
100%. I teach it to my kids. teach it to my 11 and 14-year-old boys as well.
So you talk about best practice and looking at best practice. Does best practice mean different things in the different countries that you're operating in now?
For the most part, business is business. Like, you need to position yourself as the go-to builder. This is people's biggest investment of their life. People have the same concerns. Sales is sales. The only thing that changes is the metric to imperial system. The builder vernacular from foreman, site superintendent, general contractor, building company owner, and the biggest difference is that in the US, more of the building company owners function as a general contractor. So typically they will have lots of subcontractors, like someone who's going to do the flooring, someone who's going to do the framing, etc. And they function more like a project manager in a lot of cases, not all. Then in New Zealand and Australia, we have more of a...
The carpenter tends to do more of the trades.
Exactly. The carpenter does everything. The carpenter knows all the skills. I think that's the biggest difference between the two. The Australians and the US and the Canadians have got a very more progressive mindset than in New Zealand. We're a bit more conservative. We're a bit more... A lot of builders are more risk averse.
So when you say progressive, what are you meaning? What sorts of things?
They're looking, how do I get better? What's best practice? Who's doing well that I can version their ideas? How do I short circuit and achieve in 5 years' time, trying to figure it out on my own through trial and terror? How do I get this done in the next 12 months, working with someone who's already done what I want to achieve?
Yeah, right. Yeah, so it's interesting when you comment with, we work in Australia as well, and the construction methods are actually pretty similar. There's a few things they do, like double brick and brick piers, that we don't do here, but broadly it's pretty much the same, but the terminology is quite different, and that was sort of something we had to deal with within our system is have an Australian language version.
Just dingo and...
more like the grades for timber or the grades for reinforcing steel, they just it's the same product, but it just gets called different things. And initially we were presenting a New Zealand generated estimate, and it was using New Zealand terminology, and they were saying, what's this? So we've had to work on being able to make sure we can deliver it in Australian terminology.
Probably the biggest difference that I see is the building contracts and the legal enforcement of them. And what we've had is we have experts in the US, experts in Australia and New Zealand that teach our members, here's how to protect your profit, here's the clauses that you can and should have in your contracts.
And they vary because of the
the 100%. Framework varies. Like in some states in Australia, you can't have rise and fall clauses, which seems fucking retarded.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah, and obviously Aussie and the US more so, it varies what you can and can't do, varies state by state.
Exactly, and then how much deposit you can get. Some states you can't get more than 10%.
Right, yeah.
In New Zealand, you can have 20, 50.
Whatever you agree.
Whatever.
Yeah. So in terms of taking your business then, you started in New Zealand. Was Australia your first overseas
Yes.
port?
Yep.
So how was it for you? So obviously we're saying the building itself is broadly similar, but for you taking your business and launching it in there, what did you find different?
So because we're a mixture of online and in person, so we do 5 summits a year. We're doing 100 roadshow and seminar series. So my business partner Owen is currently in Perth at the moment. Today he's doing 3 seminars over there. We're in Tauranga, Rotorua, and New Plymouth and Palmy North. Next month we were in the US last month. It's easier for us to teach people globally because we're online. And then what we have to do is we needed to hire local coaches and local building company owners as specialist coaches who are familiar with that local market and all the idiosyncrasies of that. And then it's hiring local team members to run local events so that we have, you're in person, they can see the whites of your eyes and see they're good dudes and ladies, and they know their shit and they give a shit, and they can help.
So you touched on your marketing budget earlier on. How do you attract your customers? How do they find out about you? You were obviously spending a fair bit on doing that.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
What works for you, what doesn't? What can I learn from you?
Yeah, so we spend 250 to 300 grand a month on Meta ads, Facebook and Insta. We do seminars, so every week we're doing a seminar somewhere in the world. We do webinars.
So that's included in that 250 cost you're talking about?
No, that's separate.
Okay.
So
that's just purely your advertising spend?
Yeah, that's purely our online advertising spend is that. So then that's a separate budget, and that's probably about $2 million this year.
So are you taking the same formula and putting it into Australia or putting it into the US or putting it into Canada? You're not doing anything differently?
So we have different partners in each country. So we will partner with like Bunnings, Mitre 10, US companies as well, Handoff AI, Arrow Agency, a whole bunch of different partners in the local markets, NAHB, etc., to do local seminars, local webinars, and we'll get our members come and talk as well, what's working well for them, and then we will help solve their problems locally.
So interesting that you're raising the concept of partners then. So you talk about, say, in Australia, you're partnering with Bunnings. So what does that look like for you? And when you say partnership, what does it mean? How does that actually work?
So we have different levels of partnership. So we did a roadshow with Carter's throughout New Zealand last year. We've done Mitre 10's been a sponsor of our summit. We just did a summit to our US members. We had 4 US American partners there. So for our summits, we have different tiers.
So they're contributing to the cost of the summit.
They contribute to the cost.
They're leveraging their marketing reach.
Exactly.
You're getting pushed through their marketing reach.
Exactly.
To their customers.
And then we help introduce them to our members. So we do a success call at 30 days in, and we say, Nick, how are you going? How are you finding the program? What are your results been? What challenges are you having? What do you need help with? And they might go, well, my insurance is shit. I'm like, cool. Hey, well, we have a partner with XYZ insurance company. You can have a chat with them, and this is the rebate or how much off you get, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah. And then we do seminars. So we do roadshows throughout New Zealand, US, Canada, and Australia. We have partners who help fill those. And then we also have partners on our portal who we'll do webinars with, who we have introductory offers to, etc.
Yeah, okay. So has that always been part of your formula with Professional Builder?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so you're replicating that as you go across to the
exactly.
So
now we have a partner manager in the US, we have a partner manager here in New Zealand for New Zealand and Australia, and then it's finding people who are a good fit, who work with the same clients, builders between 1 to 25 million, and then who have world-class services that we can help, if our members need them.
So you think you're looking for people that add value to your membership?
Absolutely.
So I guess it's a two-way thing. They're looking to get customers out of it. Mm-hmm. You're looking to add value to your members.
100%.
They bring some funds to help make the whole thing stack up.
Yeah, because like this, we're doing, we've got our summit in Sydney in mid-May, and that's going to be probably close to 300 grand to run. Yeah. So we need to offset that with referrals, sponsorship, partners contributing to help fill the event, new prospective members coming along to see, well, what's this all about? What's going to happen over these 2 or 3 days, etc.
Do the members pay to attend as well?
Yep.
They
They
pay
pay
a little bit from a whole lot of places.
Exactly.
Adds up to 300 grand.
Yeah. So they pay $500. Well, what we get to offset our costs of that 300K, we might get 50 to 100 grand. Yep.
Right.
But then we subsidise the balance.
Yeah, through. So obviously, the people you're coaching pay some sort of levy or fee.
Yeah, so they pay monthly fees anywhere from $1,000 a month, $3,000 a month, or $4,500 a month, and so that's for our profitable program. So that's profitable projects program. So that's our entry level for smaller guys, hop on, hop off at any time. Then we have our members who are typically between 1 to 10 million, and they're in our what we call our growth accelerator. That's 13 months, it's $3,000 a month. And then we have our boardroom members. That's for guys typically doing anywhere from 5 to 100 million, and those guys are paying anywhere from 3.5 to 4.5 a month.
Right. And what sort of is the average time that a builder would be engaging with you? So would that be in your program? So you talk about 13 months for that middle one, on and off for the first one.
Yep.
So on average, sort of how long would you be typically working with them? 2
years is our average lifetime value.
Right.
Yep.
Right. And what sort of numbers of builders have you worked with now?
3,250, I think, somewhere around there.
And I guess that number's, if the organisation's growing, it must be growing quite rapidly.
Yeah, exactly. It's only ramping up. So we have 670 members at the moment. The goal is to get to 1,000 members by the end of the year.
Right. Cool. So with such a big number base, you must have some tips for what are things that build, what are common mistakes that you see across your customers? What would be sort of number one you would say that people get wrong?
So number one is numbers. I'm sure you're very familiar with this and you say it all day, every day. Numbers are the language of business. They tell us what's working and what's not working. So we need to understand the KPIs that drive the outcomes, the financials.
I think that's an important thing with numbers is that there's numbers and there's numbers. So, an estimate is a whole pile of numbers, but digging into an estimate isn't really going to help you identify the problem. That talking about numbers at that KPI level, so being able to take an aggregated view of your business and having some sort of dashboard or something to see what's going on.
Yeah, so we have dashboards for our members. So number of leads, conversion rate, average dollar sale, gross margin, and then overheads. And that way we can see, okay, if you're converting 1 out of every 5 quotes that you're putting forward, if we were to help you put in place a decent sales process that has phone scripts, qualifying questionnaire, you send out an info packet in advance so people know those 4 key questions they want to know. Who are you? Who's your company? Can I trust you? And how specifically can you help me? Then we teach you how to actually present your project proposal, your quote, or your action plan in person, and then how to follow up. That's going to help increase your sales process and increase your conversion rate. And if we can get that from 1 out of 5 to 1 out of 4.
Yeah, it's a massive improvement.
Exactly. Yeah. Then we can see what impact does that have on the right-hand side of the ledger in terms of number of projects, revenue, and profit that drops out the bottom. And then your gross margin might be 18%. It's like, cool, well, how do we get that up 2 points in the next 90 days? What's the area where the holes are in the bucket that we need to plug? Because you can't scale chaos and you can't scale lack of profits. You'll just run faster on the hamster wheel.
Yeah. So just on that, what would you reckon would be, of the good guys, what would their quote strike rate be? So if you're saying 1 in 5 is sort of entry coming into you.
So typically if we see anything over 70%, it means one of a few key things. Number one, you're probably getting most of the work from word of mouth. Nick's a great builder. Dude, you have to work from him. Can't recommend him enough. So you don't have good deal flow and pipeline from direct response marketing, both online and offline. Number 2 is you're probably leaving quite a bit of money on the table. So we recommend 70%
as the top end,
as the target.
Yep. That's interesting. You got me worried. Now we're about 75 strike rate with our customers.
That's perfect, right? Because if everyone's saying yes, then you're probably too cheap and you can put your margin up. And you don't whack it up. You edge it up from 18. You get booked out at 18%. Then the next project, because you're booked out 9 months in advance, you don't need a project. So the ideal one comes along and you're like, cool, I'm going to price this at 20%. Oh, we won that. Now we're booked out for 12 months. The next job I'm going to price at 21 or 22%. Then that becomes the new floor, and that gets raised if you have good deal flow.
And if you got them coming in and you've got that 12 months in front of you, you can afford to keep going at 25% because it's no big deal if you lose a few 12 or 18 months.
100%. Yeah. And that's one of the biggest things that, mistake number 2, after not knowing your numbers and not backcasting in real time, forecast versus actual, etc., is to not be always, so there's a couple of things. ABH, always be hiring, and ABM, always be marketing. Because otherwise guys get into this feast to famine, do the work. Holy shit, I'm running out of work. Get the work.
Yeah, they've been on the tools. They're so busy. They're not out there talking to people.
Exactly.
The job's coming to end. Hang on a minute. I need to start.
I'm booked out for 9 months. We don't need to market anymore. Yeah, exactly. And what happens if on those big projects there's a delay? Or there's weather issues?
Or the client runs out of money. Or
runs out of money.
This is their job. Yeah.
Exactly. 100%.
Yeah. And number 3, we'll go for 3. That's probably...
So numbers, pricing... And then number 3 is not building systems. So you become a slave to the business. You build a prison for yourself. It's all reliant upon yourself. You can't work on the business rather than in it. You're chained in it. You're involved in pricing, project management, marketing, sales, clients, etc. So build systems. Systems will set you free, and then have a structure to your day. So we go through, when we first meet with every building company owner, we look at how they're allocating their time, what is the structure of their week, what's the stuff that is below their professional builder's rate. So professional builder's rate is your salary and your profit for the company for the year. So divided by the number of hours that you're doing. So let's say I'll make the maths easy. Let's say you had 100K salary, you had 150K profit. We had those two numbers together, you got 250K. Let's say you work 50 weeks, to make the maths easy, then you're making $5,000 a week. Divide that by how many hours you're doing. So let's say you're doing 60 hours. No.
50, make it easier.
Let's make it 50 hours. So now we've got, your PBR is $100 an hour.
Yeah.
So anything that's below $100 an hour that you procrastinate on, you suck at, you don't like doing, you're not good at it, we're going to delegate that, and we're going to either stop it, automate it, or delegate it and give that to someone else to do.
Yeah.
And then you can focus on the stuff that's in your genius zone. What are you great at? What do you do that makes a big impact on the business? And what do you love doing that energizes you, zaps you, charges you up, that you can do all day and do more of? And that's different for everyone.
So you're saying exactly what I say in slightly different language. So I sort of say, where do you add the most value to your business? If it's doing the estimating and doing measuring and working out spreadsheets, then carry on doing that yourself. Mm-hmm. If it isn't, then get something like us to do it. So, and that's absolutely important that everybody in every business understands, where does my time add the most value?
Absolutely.
And make sure that's where you spend as much as you practically can.
Yeah. And does it light you up? Do you enjoy it, etc.? Because if you're grumpy, tired, or your battery, you'll find out when you come back from holiday and you'll be at 100%, and then your battery's going to go down 5%. Next week you're at 90. Next week you're at 85, and then 8 to 10 weeks in, your battery's going to be drained, and you'll be like, "Fuck, I'm just not enjoying it." And that's when people get the worst you. So we make sure that people structure in time for their holidays. We buy back at least 10 hours a week in the first 90 days as our goal, so that we can raise your PBR, your professional builder's rate, and then you can hire other people in low-level recruiting stuff. So you should hire people if you don't have these people. Office manager should be the first person that you hire. Next person is part-time marketing, whether it's an agency or something.
Just jump on the office manager one, because it's something that can actually take a lot of time, and they're relatively inexpensive to get. So in terms of
100%
dollar return on spending the money, getting your PBR back, that's a good place to start.
1,000,000%. And whether that's your significant other, your wife, or
a bookkeeper, or whatever.
Exactly. A bookkeeper, solo mum. There's agencies out there that provide these services. Yeah. There's virtual assistants. You can get VAs from the Philippines that this is their full-time job. They're fantastic. And we have members that have got them as contract administrators, part-time QSs, project man, everything. So that's a great option as well. So the next thing is marketing, to make sure you've got great deal flow. The next thing, most building company owners suck at, or they don't like pricing, they procrastinate on it. So who's an agency that you can work with? Who's someone that you can hire in-house part-time that you can get them to help you do the pricing, to get those out quicker, get them, build the system, and make sure that it's not all on your shoulders and you're procrastinating on doing it. Then next,
I guess jumping in on that one because that's obviously
yes,
the main.
absolutely.
Is a lot of it is the reason why the owners do it is it's so critical to the business. If you get it
100%.
wrong, you can completely screw your business. So I can understand completely why they want to keep control of it, but
they need
because
to
you're the owner, it doesn't necessarily mean you're the best at it.
Exactly. And you should apply the 10-80-10 principle to it. So you help set up the systems, the process, and everything, the first 10%. Your team and each of their roles then does the 80%, the core grunt work. You check in with them each week, you're able to QC it, and then you QC and fine-tooth comb the last 10%.
Yeah. So you're not doing the donkey work.
Exactly.
You're just adding the value. Yeah.
Exactly. That's how you use your expertise, you buy back your time, and you apply that across every role as you grow.
Yeah, so you must be reading my notes because I was going to ask you about systems, but we've pretty much covered all that sort of stuff. So I see you've got a book in front there and it's got your name on it. So what's the story behind that?
Oh, I'm glad you asked.
It's our first infomercial.
Exactly. This book here took me 2 years to write, 21 years worth of knowledge. It's the Profitable Builders Playbook. And it goes through step by step everything that we've written in an a la carte style on how to set up your business, scale it and grow it. So marketing, sales, how to systemize it on site, systemize it in the office, how to buy back your time, a core chapter, the second chapter in there. And then if you're like me, you're over 50 and maybe you're looking at an exit in the next 2, 5, 10 years. The last chapter is how do I set my business up for sale or structure a buy-in with my son, daughter, project manager, someone else. And then what are the options? How do I go about that? Every chapter has tools and resources, so best practice. It has interviews with our members, and then it also has plug and play downloadable cheat sheets that you can implement to start getting results quickly.
So instead of paying $1,000 a month, they can buy the book and
exactly.
Go away.
Oh, exactly.
But I guess it gives them an oversight of sort of how you work, and the value they gain from that should encourage them to, okay, well, this is
100%.
An entry level into it.
Yeah, so it's very fortunate that this was number one on Amazon in 3 categories.
So what was it like, the process of writing a book? Where did you start with it?
Yeah, so I'm an academic originally, so went to Otago University, did an honours, master's and a PhD. So writing comes very, very naturally to me. I love it. So I would say...
So it's not ghostwritten?
No, it was before the days of AI, so before it was mainstream. So I sat down in planes, trains, automobiles. I'm a massive train fanatic, so I took the train from Christchurch over to the West Coast. I Hokitika, went on that. I've sat in Fiji and the Sheraton for a week writing it. I sit on planes, etc., etc. So it's getting everything out of my head and that our members use into very usable, easy chunks that you can plug and play into your business.
And it's self-published, or have you worked with a publisher?
Yep.
Or
self-published. Yep. So, yeah.
Yep. So available at all good booksellers. Yeah.
No, that's one of the next things is getting it into bookstores and making it available through our partners to anyone who wants to improve their building company.
Yeah, right.
And we know a lot of builders don't like reading. So we have the audio book for it as well.
Who voiced the audio book?
Me, yours truly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we get your dulcet tones.
Exactly.
So you mentioned before, so Owen, that you've brought into the business. So it sounds like you're practicing a bit of what you preach in terms of forward thinking about what's going to happen with your business. So what was he started off as an intern with you? What was the journey there?
So 10 years ago, I was like, how can we get low-cost labour, slave labour, into our business to help us? And there's many different avenues for that. But you want smart people. So one of those is most universities have a intern program. And AUT, Auckland University of Technology, has a co-op program. So when people are at their final year university, like third year, they have to go out into a business for 12 weeks. And you can pay them nothing. We paid ours $100 a week. They then work with you on marketing, sales, design, whatever you need. And so we must have had 70 to 80 of these people through our business over 8 or 9 years. And one of these people, well, actually, I've hired probably 15 of them over the years to come work with us, the people who show two key things. One, curiosity, and two, intensity. So they're curious about how do I get better, how do I make this role better, etc. And then intensity, they're willing to put the hours in, do hard work, and do whatever it takes to find a solution and get the result. So Owen came on, I think 11, 12 years ago now, started as an intern, very smart, played water polo for New Zealand, was head boy of a school at Westlake, and you could not get a better business partner, team leader, etc. So I structured a buy-in with him, and so he bought 25% of the business, so I vendor financed him half, he bought in half, and I said to him as a carrot, I said, hey, if we do over $1 million profit in the next 12 months, I'll give you the option to buy a further 8% for $1. Okay. So he exercised that because we were making about $600,000 profit at that stage. He exercised that option. We did more than $1 million profit, and then he's at a third now. So it's a third, 2/3. So how we split our roles now, he's the GM. He focuses, so the difference between a GM and a CEO, a GM focuses on today. So he does all the day-to-day, the meetings with the team, etc. The CEO focuses on tomorrow. So capital and asset allocation, strategy, what businesses are we going into next? Where do we put our focus? And for us, we can do a lot of different things. So we have to decide, because we're on track to do 30 mil, is this a $5 or a $10 million opportunity? So you only have a certain amount of chips if you're at the casino, and you have to decide where are you going to allocate those for the best chance of success. And we use an ICE filter. So what's the impact of this project? How certain are we that we can pull it off? And what's the ease factor? And we rate each of those out of 10. Do we have team and capability? Have we done it before? How complex is it to get it into play?
So again, systemizing what you do internally.
Exactly.
So before I was worried about you reading my notes. Now I'm worried you got a camera in my office. Because literally before this, I was actually on the AUT site filling out a co-op thing.
Happy days.
Bring
awesome.
A student in to help us with a bit of our social media marketing. Brilliant. And actually, I was last week and the week before, I was in with, we've done quite a few technical projects with the various universities. So we actually got a couple of R&D projects. I was just briefing them on looking at what can we use AI for. There's a fly going around here somewhere. It's all right, I won't kill you. So we've got doing a couple of R&D projects around AI. Awesome. So one around, can we automate preparing the scope of works? Because we talked about pricing. Probably the most important thing actually is the scope of works. If you don't understand the scope of works, it doesn't matter how good or bad your pricing is. So we're looking to see, can we use AI to improve that?
And then does your foreman understand the scope of works? Does he understand what's an inclusion, what's an exclusion, what constitutes a variation, etc.?
And I guess, playing our own trumpet again, part of what we do is by using, because we use a 3D model for the costing process, we actually we create a site document for the site foreman with pictures of the 3D model and a description of the scope, with the idea being it helps them. Because, there was something we learned early on, is that we basically built this technology to allow costing of a 3D model, but when we presented the costing to the builders, they were saying, we don't understand this. And I was thinking, well, it's built from a 3D model. It's great, And we realised that we had an issue communicating to them what we'd allowed for, but then we also realised they had an issue communicating to their client what they'd allowed for, particularly with renovations. So we came up with some tools around how to do that. And the other project we're working on with AUT is looking at whether we can use AI as a validation process. So a bit like what you're saying with KPIs, is while our guys are doing a model, can we use AI? We've got 4,000 projects in our database. So can we use AI to analyse what's happened on previous projects, check the project that we're working on, and identify things? So that's the two projects where we're kicking around with AUT at the moment.
Awesome. I love it.
So you don't strike me as somebody that sits on their hands. So you've got this ICE process. Is there anything out of that that's sort of bubbling under that you're willing to talk about? That what's coming up next?
Absolutely. So we've got a few things that we're considering. So one of those is a lower level program that's open to anyone. So we have a lot of people who are below $1 million who we don't work with, we don't help.
And obviously for a business that size, $1,000 a month is actually going to be quite an impact.
Exactly. So we're looking at a lower level program. How can we roll that out globally with partners? 2, how do we license our program around the world to different partners? 3 is buying either a marketing agency or an accounting firm and then rolling that out globally. 4
So
is...
as part of your offer, you'll offer the
Exactly.
back office functions?
Yes, 100%. So this is like part of an ecosystem that we're building. So 4 is like a high-end accelerator private equity business.
Right.
So we're going to definitely kick that one off at the end of the year.
And is that what, focused on building companies? Or?
Exactly. So we'll take anywhere from 20 to 50% of their business. If they're doing 5 mil, they want to get to 30 mil. We've got a board already set up in mind. We will help do their marketing, their sales for them, implement the systems to help them accelerate. So this is what we're trialing with some of our members currently at the moment. So we're picking top 5 that we want to work with to actually take their business very quickly to the next level. Maybe what they can do in 2 or 3 years, we can help them get there in 9 to 12 months. So they're the biggest ones that we're thinking of. We went down the road of building a SaaS software as a service for 9 months. That was a big black hole that about 500 grand disappeared into, took our focus off everything.
Yeah.
And lastly, we've been in talks with PE companies to look towards an exit in the next 2 to 3 years, or a partial sale, take some money off the table.
Yeah. Are
Well,
you looking outside the building industry at all? So obviously, we commented early on that business is business, really, and building is just one form of business. Have you looking to take your methodologies outside building?
No, we'll stay in building. We can go so much deeper. We're barely scraping the surface of the impact that we can have in the market. The US is a big focus for us. We've invested a lot of time, money into people, team, partnerships over there, and marketing. So, we have a lot of scope to grow this business. Like, there's billion-dollar companies in almost every industry sector, roofing, you name it. And
so that was my next question: is trades outside the carpentry?
Yeah, no, we'll just stay focused on carpentry. We have good friends that work with other plumbing, sparkies, et cetera, et cetera. Our niche over the last 20 years is plug and play, best practice for building companies, and we can do that, and we can help a lot more people quickly.
Yeah. So are there any other burning issues that we haven't raised so far that you want to get off your chest?
If you're, no matter what the business, if you're stuck, or you're feeling like you're plateaued, or you're not getting the results that you want, then do something different, because you're not a tree, you're not stuck where you are. And Einstein's definition of insanity is to keep doing the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. So if you're stuck, you're not happy with how things are going, whether it's your diet, your weight, your relationships, your business, do something differently. Seek out someone else who's achieved the results that you want. Get in a community of like-minded people. Like, if you want to become a better swimmer, you can try and figure it out on your own, or you can go and join a swim squad. Get to the pool at 5 o'clock in the morning, be around the swimmers afterwards, eat the kind of breakfast and nutrition that they have, get a coach that corrects your technique, because you can't always see where the gaps are, and you will get better. You will be in that environment and improving. So if you need help with your building company, or you want help in general, reach out to us. We offer free initial coaching sessions. We'll do a game plan with you. We'll analyze your profit and loss. We'll figure out where are the gaps, what's possible for your building company over the next 12 months, next 3 years. And that's free. There's no obligation at the end of it. If you like what you've heard, you want to talk to us about how can you implement this plan into your business with confidence, clarity, and speed, then we can talk about which program could work best for you.
That's great, Marty. I really appreciate your time today, and I've enjoyed the session. So thanks, everybody. I hope you've enjoyed the session today with Marty. I hope you've noticed that I've just got an hour's free coaching from Marty, which I'm really appreciative of. So if you, as Marty said, if you want to engage with him and learn more about what his organisation, the Professional Builder, offers, then get in touch with him. If you want to work with a QS that is just as interested in systems and processes and constantly improving, then come and talk to us at Your QS. If you enjoyed this content, then check out below and subscribe to whatever channel it is you're watching this on. Thank you.